What is the deepest you've gone down a Wikipedia rabbit hole? Hello, and welcome to Liscapism. Today we continue our journey to my screen-accurate recreation of this outfit from the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, worn by Colin Firth as Fitzwilliam Darcy. Last time, we made the trousers, and now we're tackling the waistcoat. First, I must thank Ragnhild, who's become my first patron at the Jane Austen tier and gets a verbal shout-out, my eternal thanks, and many other awesome perks. Thank you so much, Ragnhild, for your support and enthusiasm. Your contribution is going directly to equipment that will be keeping me making videos while I'm temporarily away from home in the next month or so. I am very, very grateful. If you would like to support me on Patreon or with Ko-fi, the links are in the description. Thanks again. Now back to the waistcoat. I wanted desperately to have the exact motif from the original waistcoat, but I could not find it for love nor money, and I have no interest in companies like Spoonflower or other print-on-demand fabric sellers. So, after scouring the internet, I finally just had to give up the search. I settled for this end-of-roll cut of upholstery fabric. There was just enough for the purpose, and it is weirdly similar to another one of Darcy's waistcoats. If I cannot have exactly what I want, this is an acceptable substitute. That being said, if you can find this exact pattern of fabric in literally any fabric, I want to know. This pattern exactly. This is a mock-up I made myself, which is as close as I can decipher. I'm throwing this out into the universe, and if it answers with even a meter of this fabric, I will be forever indebted. But I digress. The waistcoat, like the trousers, is a pattern that did not account for my proportions. I made a very quick first mock-up to understand exactly how it would need to be adjusted. Unlike the trousers, it needed quite a lot of adjustments, so I made mock-up number 2 much more carefully. As is often the case, it wasn't quite right, but I felt confident in calling my shot from there and getting to work on the final thing. While I make the final waistcoat, we're going to talk about Wikipedia rabbit holes. I've talked before about my love of research and studying history. Truly, it never gets old for me. So often I learn way more than I expected from the most humble of topics. Filming and writing these videos involves getting a lot of raw material and then finding the best bits to properly communicate it to you all. A tiny fraction of my research and an even smaller fraction of filmed footage ends up in the final videos. With that in mind, we're going to try a little experiment today. I've left in all the footage that I took for making the final waistcoat. Sped up, of course. While you watch me whiz around in apparent chaos, I'm going to recount the rabbit hole adventures that I went on while researching the waistcoat. Instead of going deep, today we are going wide. I will tell you where I landed and give you a sampling of the facts that were there. Ready? Steady, go. One of my favorite quirks of Wikipedia is that starting at any random entry, repeatedly clicking the first link will eventually bring you to the entry for philosophy. This would seem like a magic trick, except that it's just a consequence of the formatting and content standards of Wikipedia. But I think the fun of this trick is that it teaches you to go one step further. Don't always just click the first link. Don't stick to the more familiar ideas, you'll just end up going in circles. As Goethe said, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. If nothing else, you will be unstoppable at your local trivia night. But more on that in a moment. So what about the waistcoat? Well, first, it takes 22 clicks to get from waistcoat to philosophy. From the Wikipedia page for waistcoat, I would wander around the internet, starting with hyperlink hopping on the Wikipedia page, and then following up on resources and citations as I was able to find them. I found myself repeatedly in a few key topics. First, contemporary men's formal wear. One of the first things I learned is that there is a plethora of different levels of casual and formal dress. So, for instance, there is formal, informal, semi-formal, and casual, never mind time-specific dress, for instance, morning versus evening dress, or black tie and white tie. One of my favorite little alleyways of this particular topic was the very specific color theory that went into morning dress. For instance, the use of the phrase dove grey to describe waistcoats that are worn in the morning. Regrettably, dove grey does not have its own Wikipedia page, but instead directs you directly to the grey Wikipedia page. Meh. I constantly came across the problem that the Regency seems to have been skipped over entirely in fashion history on Wikipedia. It would go straight from the French Revolution through to 1820 and totally miss out on about 40 years of fashion history, and of 40 years of fashion history that are very visually distinctive. In the pages that did include Regency fashion history, there seemed to be an awful lot of missing citations and no references whatsoever. So, costumers, y'all should get on that. Check out those Wikipedia pages, find your references. I actually had to dip quite a lot into my lo-fi real books to find a lot of this information to get further in my Wikipedia searches. From contemporary men's formal wear, we inevitably landed on the juste à corps. With the juste à corps page as a kind of weird hub of information, I was bouncing continually between Charles II and information about Asian and Eastern European influences on French and English fashion. Charles II was King of England after the monarchy was restored in 1660. He made an official announcement of a change of fashion to distinguish England from the excesses of the French court and announced the outfit that we now credit as the precursor to the three-piece suit, which is mentioned in particular by Samuel Pepys in his diary. Quote, "The king hath yesterday in council declared his resolution of setting a fashion for clothes which he will never alter. It will be a vest. I know not well how, but it is to teach the nobility thrift and will do good." Speaking of the Restoration reminds me of a funny story about the unexpected benefits of a literature degree. A few years ago, we were at a Christmas party where one of the activities was a pub quiz. One of the questions asked was, in what year was Christmas outlawed in England? Neither of us had ever taken a history course, but Archie and I are English Lit students. An English Lit degree is a low-key history, religious studies, and sociology degree. We talked it over and came to the conclusion, never having before heard of such a law, that it had a decidedly anti-Catholic feeling. So we hazarded a guess that it was the act of a Puritan parliament during or leading up to the interregnum. I don't remember if we got the year exactly, but we were within 10 years and definitely got the point. That moment was, personally, worth 5 years at university. Knowledge doesn't happen by accident, but it can come along in unexpected ways, and sometimes that includes cobbling together the things you know into an educated guess. And frankly, that's the kind of thing that Wikipedia rabbit holes are great for. But let's get back to our meandering research. Along with the recurring theme of Charles II in this research, fashion influences from Asia, the Turkish Empire, and Eastern Europe cropped up very frequently. Garments and parts of garments that are credited as being inspirations for parts of the contemporary three-piece suit are as follows. For the frock coat, or the juste à corps, there were at least 4 different garments that were popularly worn in the Turkish Empire, Eastern Europe, and Asia that are cited as inspirations. The dolman is a long Turkish robe that has narrow sleeves and an open front. A part of traditional dress of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and the Ukrainian Cossacks was the zupan, which itself is likely derived from Central Asian nomadic groups like the Scythians, Saka, and Mongol communities, among others. The nomenclature and origin of this garment is a hodgepodge of etymological research that is both very interesting and very dizzying. From India, there is the achkan, a narrow-sleeved knee-length jacket which could be tied at the front or side, and a sherwani, which is a slightly heavier coat of similar design meant always to be outerwear and therefore almost always having a straight front opening. For the vest, while there are loads of sleeveless versions of the above coats and jackets throughout history, none seem to be directly credited as the inspiration for the vest as distinct from the coat. It is more often credited that the fabrics and decorations were influenced by Asian fabrics and designs, which are evident even to the modern day. The Persian bote motif, renamed Paisley for the Scottish town where they were commonly replicated for English textiles, is still very popular on suits and ties. The cravat derives from Croat, which was very first used in reference to the military unit known as the Croats, populated by Croatians, but also Hungarians, Serbs, Wallachians, Poles, Cossacks, Albanians, and Tartars. It was later then used to refer to the distinctive neckwear that was part of their military kit. Fun fact, Croatia still celebrates Cravat Day every October the 18th. All of these individual corners of the internet are topics that I could continue learning about forever. Hyperlink hopping is, in my opinion, the very best way of finding things to be interested in. What's the wildest journey you've been on through the annals of Wikipedia? Let me know in the comments. And now we are at the end of the video. I will tell you that the waistcoat I've ended up with is the best thing I've ever made for myself. I intend to keep this pattern and use it again. A lot. I never really want to wear anything else. So I reiterate, in sewing, in research, and in life, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. In this case, the gods of fiddly tailoring have smiled upon me. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I have some really fun stuff lined up for the next few months and I don't want you to miss a moment of it. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon.